As detailed in Harvard graduate Dr. Leonard Horowitz's book Emerging Viruses, AIDS and Ebola, Nature, Accident, or Intentional, the virus that we call HIV/AIDS is a man-made immunosuppressive lymphocyte-infecting animal lentivirus that was created by Dr. Robert Gallo and his associates at the National Cancer Institute Special Virus Cancer Program, initially founded by eugenicists Nelson Rockefeller, Henry Kissinger, and Roy Ashe, and later funded by the Department of Defense's Experimental Biowarfare Program. HIV/AIDS was created during the late 1960s and early 1970s, originally stemming from Lytton Bionetics and distributed by Merck Pharmaceuticals through contaminated hepatitis B vaccination trials amongst homosexuals in the late 1970s. HIV/AIDS is a lentivirus, which is a subclass of retroviruses. Retroviruses avoid the body's immune system by inserting themselves into the DNA of the host cells and typically spend lengthy waiting periods hiding in the nucleus of cells. They are routinely able to mutate to escape host antibodies, so that antibodies found in the same blood with these viruses often do not neutralize them, especially late in the course of disease. Lentiviruses are a subclass of retroviruses which are capable of slow infections resulting in death. Lentiviruses typically spend lengthy waiting periods in hiding in the cell nucleus, and lentiviruses may never cause overt disease in their natural hosts. Additionally, upon further inspection, HIV is clearly related to the Visna-sheep lentivirus in structure and genetics, and even more closely to equine infectious anemia virus and several other immunosuppressive lymphocyte-infecting animal lentivirus such as simian immunodeficiency virus and feline immunodeficiency virus. The same opportunistic fungal and parasite infections that are familiar from human AIDS are found in SIV, oral candidiasis, pneumocystis, carine pneumonia, cryptosporidium diarrhea, cytomegalovirus, retinitis, and Mycobacterium avium. SIV also caused a retroviral encephalitis, a brain infection caused directly by the SIV virus, which was microscopically similar to the disease changes seen in human AIDS brains. Macaques with SIV also developed lymph cell-associated tumors, a frequent AIDS complication. HIV infection in macaques caused what looked more like HIV, like SIV and FIV, has a special affinity for CD4 lymphocytes, the very cells which disappear in AIDS patients. Because HIV infections almost always result in HIV antibodies, the antibody does not signal a cure or the end of virus infection. All three lentiviruses, HIV, SIV, and FIV, undergo the same primary infection and overall disease progression process. The primary infection symptoms are similar to mononucleosis, a long and severe sore throat, swollen lymphatic tissues, fever, and tiredness for weeks. Sometimes it is less severe and not even noticed. After the initial infection, the infected person develops HIV antibodies, becoming HIV positive, and then recovers, but only on the surface. The virus is not gone, but hiding in the DNA of the host cells. Even years after infection, viral DNA can still be detected essentially 100% of the time in an HIV-positive person's CD4 lymphocytes. HIV-positive people are still infected and are slowly losing immune cells in their lymphatic tissues. In some sense, they are still sick, even though they might feel and appear healthy. Over time, the average numbers of CD4 lymphocytes in the blood of HIV-infected people slowly fall at a steady rate. Although not at the same rate in everyone, the lymphatic tissues of HIV-positive persons are under viral attack is also seen in lentivirus-infected animals. In HIV-positive people with lymphadenopathy, most of the CD4 lymphocytes in the lymphatic organs, where 98% of the CD4 lymphocytes in the body are normally to be found, are gone as HIV destroys them. As the person's lymphatics reach their end stage of destruction, the HIV virus, now easily escaping filtration by the now destroyed immune system in the lymphatics, enters the blood in larger numbers once again. The largely asymptomatic and reasonably healthy latent period for the HIV-infected person is now at an end. Levels of CD4 lymphocytes start to fall at an average rate of 60 per year, and when levels of CD4 lymphocytes in the blood reach critical counts of 250 to 200, about a quarter of normal levels, fevers and other symptoms occur. Now, opportunistic infections appear, most commonly Candida yeast infections in the throat, often the first infection, which can spread to the esophagus and eventually the lungs, becoming pneumonia, even pneumocystis pneumonia if not treated in time. In homosexual men, more rarely in other AIDS patients, a peculiar vascular tumor called Kaposi sarcoma might appear in the skin. With the appearance of these markers of secondary disease, Now the infected person is said to have full-blown AIDS or simply AIDS, as long-term animal and human survival with retroviruses demonstrates immune failure as a consequence of retroviral infection is a host-specific response to infection and has little to do with any property of the virus itself. Estimates of the time between initial HIV infection and later AIDS are found to vary strongly depending on the age of the person, and to a lesser extent on the group infected, as homosexuals with many other current infections develop opportunistic infections sooner, and also Kaposi sarcoma. The latency time does not depend on the sex of the infected person. Generally, the period taken for half of a given infected group to become sick with full-blown AIDS is about 10 years, but perhaps more years for younger people and a few less for older people. Because HIV is a lentivirus which hides in the DNA of cells and specifically seeks and destroys CD4 lymphocyte cells and lymphatic tissues, the avenue to curing HIV is not going to be found in antiretrovirals, which indiscriminately kill dividing cells by interfering with their DNA. HIV already damages the infected person's DNA. Adding a cancer medication that destroys cells to a lentivirus that already destroys cells is completely inefficient. The avenue is to heal those infected on the cellular level, repairing their DNA. And there is one man who has accomplished this, but the mainstream media never gave him much attention. Born Alfredo Darrington Bowman, better known as Dr. Sebi, was a Honduran healer who specialized in acid-base homeostasis, as he learned from studying biochemistry that human cells are naturally alkaline, meaning they are electric. Dr. Sebi used not just any herbs, but only herbs that have a pH of over 7, making them alkaline, as all disease is only remedied at the cellular level by elevating an acidic state to an alkaline state. Dr. Sebi traveled the world, collecting and acquiring herbs from North America, Central and South America, Africa, and the Caribbean, and sent them to Lancaster laboratories to have their pH levels tested. Dr. Sebi selected and used only those herbs which tested alkaline, and cured and reversed many diseases such as diabetes, various cancers, even stage 4 cancers, and lupus, using alkaline herbs and placing his patients on an alkaline diet. After years of successfully reversing various serious life-threatening diseases, he declared if he were to ever cure a person of HIV/AIDS, he would publish his accomplishments in the newspaper. In 1987, Dr. Sebi soon got his chance, and after he reversed his first AIDS patient, he published his results in the New York Village Voice and New York Amsterdam News, proclaiming AIDS has been cured by the Usha Institute using the African biomineral balance. Although Dr. Sebi was arrested for his claims of curing AIDS on February 10, 1987, by the then New York Attorney General Robert Abrams' office because of the ad placed in the Village Voice and the Amsterdam News by Dr. Sebi's Usha Institute claiming a cure for AIDS was offered, he was sued and litigated in 1988 by the New York City Supreme Court and faced civil and criminal charges for practicing medicine without a license. Dr. Sebi brought over 70 patients whom he had cured using his herbs and dietary programs. Dr. Sebi won his right to continue practicing medicine and professing his success of reversing and curing all diseases, as he was found not guilty. As published in the New York Amsterdam News, October 1, 1988, by Harold Jameson, in a historical decision in Brooklyn Supreme Court, a jury of 6 men and 6 women found Alfredo Bowman not guilty on 2 counts of practicing medicine without a license. According to Dr. Sebi's testimony about his healing methods, the compounds change the environment of the body through intracellular cleansing and replenish the cells by causing cell proliferation, wherein new cells push out the old cells. This process enables the body to heal itself. Dr. Sebi's lawyer at the time, Simeon Greenaway, stated this was the first case of its kind in Brooklyn Supreme Court. What was significant about the verdict, Greenaway stated, is the fact that Usha's African biomineral balance will now be recognized throughout the world. Greenaway described Usha's concept of natural healing as one on a collision course with the medical establishment. Dr. Sebi was ahead of his time, and his impact on the direction that needs to be taken to actually cure HIV/AIDS has left a lasting legacy. But first, in order to fully grasp Dr. Sebi's proven successful methodology to healing, one must be versed in acid-base physiology. Unbalanced acid-base regulation is one of the foremost leading causes of disease. Acute changes in blood pH induce powerful regulatory effects at the cellular level, and left untreated will eventually damage organs in the human organism. In chemistry, pH, meaning potential of hydrogen, is a numeric scale used to specify the acidity or alkalinity of an aqueous solution. Aqueous is defined as like or containing water. Thus, an aqueous solution is a solution in which the solvent is water. On average, every human being consists of more than approximately 10 trillion cells, and each cell consists of protoplasm, a living substance that is 70% water, thus meaning that cells are mostly water, making our human bodies over 70% water, signifying we are aqueous. As detailed in the book The Subtle Body, an encyclopedia of your energetic anatomy by Cindy Dale, each and every cell in our bodies is comparable to a battery, positively charged at the outer wall and negatively charged inside the wall. Thus, every cell generates its own electrical activity and magnetic field. Hence, our cells are electrical, making our human organism electrical. The pH scale ranges from 0 to 14, with 7 being neutral. Anything above 7 is alkaline. Anything below 7 is acidic. The body is naturally regulated to the alkaline, meaning it has a pH of 7 and over, and blood has a pH of 7.4. Anything less than that runs the risk of disease developing. The acid-alkaline status of the body is regulated by the kidneys and the lungs. Acidosis is caused by an accumulation of acid or a significant loss of bicarbonate, which is a vital component of the pH buffering system of the human body, helping to maintain the acid-base homeostasis. The major categories of acidosis are respiratory acidosis and metabolic acidosis. In order to test your pH levels, all that is needed are pH test strips that are available at your local pharmacy. According to Harvard graduate Dr. Jerry Tennant in his book Healing is Voltage, salivary pH is a rough indicator of cellular voltage. Urinary pH is a rough indicator of the voltage in the fluids around cells, otherwise known as lymphatic fluid. After measuring the voltage of the solution, one can convert that to a logarithmic scale called pH. Measuring the electrical frequency of our body tells us about our health. A voltage of plus 400 millivolts is the same as a pH of 0. A voltage of minus 400 millivolts is the same as a pH of 14. A solution that is neither an electron donor nor electron stealer is called a pH of 7, or 0 millivolts. In a sick person, the pH levels are below 0 millivolts or below 7 pH. In a healthy person, the pH levels are above 0 millivolts or 7 pH. Any cellular biology book will tell you that the normal pH of body tissue is 7.35, which is minus 20 millivolts to a pH of 7.4, which equates to minus 25 millivolts. Since healthy cells are designed to run between minus 20 and minus 25 millivolts of electron donor status, meaning a pH of 7.35 to 7.44, all disease occurs when you are acidic, meaning your pH levels are below 7, signifying your cellular voltage is too low to function properly and your cells have become electron stealers. Electron stealers cause damage, or a pH from 0 to 6.9, are acidic, are free radicals, are the positive pole, are destructive, and at the atomic level spin left. As you can see, disease not only occurs because of a state of acidosis, but because one's body's cellular voltage is so low it has become an electron stealer state. As blood pH begins to drop, your cellular voltage begins to drop, meaning more and more oxygen is leaving your cells, and your cells will go from an electron donor to electron stealer status. This is known as a change in polarity. When voltage drops to plus 30 millivolts, or a pH of 6.48, you have cancer. And in the case of HIV, you can begin to develop a multitude of cancers. Most HIV/AIDS patients are in a state of acidosis because their cells are being attacked by the lentivirus they carry. If most advanced HIV/AIDS patients were to be tested for their pH levels, they would exhibit a pH of 4 to 5, which is very acidic. This acidity of body tissue drives out the health-giving oxygen. HIV/AIDS, which is nothing more than various animal cancers, thrives in an oxygen-deficient acidic environment, but perishes in an alkaline high pH environment. We maintain our health and heal primarily by making new cells. To make a new cell requires a cellular voltage of minus 50 millivolts or a pH of 7.88. At minus 50 millivolts, blood vessels dilate and dump raw materials such as proteins, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, minerals, all the necessary raw materials to build new cells. Without the ability to achieve minus 50 millivolts, meaning a pH of 7.88, and the necessary raw materials to make new cells, you cannot maintain your health and you will suffer aging and chronic disease. You also are unable to repair injuries, so they can also lead to chronic disease. As Dr. Jerry Tennant further states, without the ability to achieve minus 50 millivolts and the necessary raw materials to make new cells, you cannot maintain your health and you will suffer chronic disease. You don't need drugs to heal. You need to make new cells that work to heal. To make good cells, you need voltage and a good diet. You also need to remove toxins from your body that damage cells and make you obese. You can take all the medications you like and do as much surgery as you like. but you will not heal unless you have minus 50 millivolts, raw materials, and a lack of toxins. The field of biophysics, biophysicist Fritz Albert Popp from the International Institute of Biophysics in Germany coined the term biophotons. Biophotons are light particles or light waves that cells of the body emit in order to communicate during cellular reactions at the speed of light. Biophotons are quantifiable and measurable light emissions on the cellular level. The light emitted is very weak, typically several million times as faint as the light from a firefly. Popp determined that cells do not just radiate light, they also absorb light. Biophotons relay cell regulatory and metabolic information between and within cells. Increasing the level of biophotons in an organism improves health by improving cellular communication. As Popp states, there are about 100,000 chemical reactions happening in every cell each second. The chemical reaction can only happen if the molecule which is reacting is excited by a photon, which is light. Once the photon has excited a reaction, it returns to the field and is available for more reactions. In other words, biophotons are responsible for cellular function. Popp also demonstrated that DNA operates not only chemically, the long-standing theory, but at a level beyond. It is essentially a storage unit for light and a source of biophoton emission. At least 75% of biophotonic activity originates from the DNA. Taking all the DNA of a human and lining them up, it would cover a distance of 10.10 to the 12th meters, which is more than the diameter of our solar system. This exorbitant information density leads to a phenomenon known in physics as Bose-Einstein condensate. That is, photons are trapped, much like in a cryotrap, condensed and freeze in time. The stored light accounts for the elemental stability of the DNA molecule. Dr. Fritz Albert Popp found that cancer patients had lost natural rhythms as well as their coherence in cellular biophotonic emission. In effect, their cellular DNA light was going out. Biophotonic emissions revealed that healthy cells emit coherent light, while unhealthy cells emit non-coherent light. When cells are injured, their response is to emit more biophotonic light, and they even signal surrounding healthy cells to begin producing copies of themselves to heal. Biophotons are stored and used by all biological organisms. Biophotons are received by our body's cells through our eyes, but also from digesting them from the foods that we eat. When we eat food, we ingest light and biophotonic frequencies. The electricity of the sun is sent to the earth through thermal radiation. Plants receive these biophotons and use this light from the sun to turn carbon dioxide and water into sugar. When we eat the sugar or glucose in the plants, we are indirectly absorbing some of the biophotons received from the sun, which made the glucose in the plants in the first place. This is how biophotons are ingested. Dr. Popp used his biophoton meter to measure and test the photon coherency of different food types. He found that wild foods gave off the most biophotons and had levels double that of cultivated organic foods. Organically farmed foods emitted 5 times more biophotons than conventionally grown foods. Highly cooked and irradiated foods gave off almost no detectable biophoton energy. It is Popp's belief that when plants are consumed, the body breaks it down and then utilizes the energy or light present in the eaten plant and distributes it throughout the entire range of electromagnetic frequencies. This then becomes the driving force of the cells of the body. What Popp's research suggests is that by including a significant amount of organic and wild foods in our diet, we can increase the overall biophoton levels in our body and thereby potentially increase our overall health through increased cellular communication and DNA repair. The capacity to store biophotons is the true measure of the nutritive quality of medicine. The more sunlight a food is able to store, the more biophotons and healthy microbes it has in order to raise one's body pH or voltage. It was proven by the practice of Dr. Sebi and supported by the science of Dr. Fritz Albert Popp and Dr. Jerry Tennant. Alkaline plants and fruits contain the necessary biophotons to alkalize the human body's blood pH, thus raising the overall cellular voltage to minus 50 millivolts, meaning a pH of 7.88. And the ingested biophotons repairing DNA, providing the necessary intracellular cleansing, replenishing the cells by causing cell proliferation, where new cells push out the old cells, thus allowing the human body to heal itself. Alkaline plant-based biophotons is what repairs and heals our cellular DNA, as well as raises our cell voltage and increases the pH of our blood, thus allowing the human body to create new CD4 lymphocyte cells, which the bioweapon immunosuppressive lymphocyte-infecting lentivirus known as HIV destroys. Dr. Sebi's methodology of healing is the model for all medicinal practitioners. And besides leaving a lasting legacy and foundation for future generations, he has provided all the specific plants he used for eliminating disease. Following vegetables, fruits, and grains are what Dr. Sebi used for the necessary cellular voltage required to cure HIV/AIDS. For vegetables, Dr. Sebi used amaranth greens, avocados, asparagus, bell peppers, Mexican squash, cucumbers, dandelion greens, garbanzo beans, amaranth greens, green bananas, ezote, jicama, kale, lettuce, all except icebergs, mushrooms, all except shiitake, mustard greens, nopales, which is Mexican cactus, okra, olives, onions, poke salad, sea vegetables, squash, spinach, string beans, tomatoes, cherry and plum only, tomatillos, turnip greens, and zucchini. For fruits, Dr. Sebi used apples, burro bananas, the smallest original bananas, berries, all varieties, elderberries in any form, no cranberries, cantaloupes, cherries, currants, dates, figs, seeded grapes, seeded key limes, mangoes, seeded melons, Seville or sour oranges, papayas, peaches, pears, plums, prunes, seeded raisins, soft jelly coconuts, and sugar apples, also known as chamoyas. All natural herbal teas include allspice, anise, chamomile, cloves, fennel, ginger, lemongrass, and raspberry. For spices, basil, bay leaf, cilantro, dill, marjoram, oregano, savory, sweet basil, tarragon, thyme, achiote, cayenne, cumin, coriander, onion powder, and sage. For salt, pure sea salt and powdered granulated seaweed. Sweet flavors, 100% pure maple syrup, maple sugar, date sugar, and 100% pure agave syrup. Nuts and seeds, raw sesame seeds, raw sesame, tahini butter, walnuts, and Brazil nuts. Grains, amaranth, black rice, kamut, quinoa, spelt, teff, and wild rice. As well, Dr. Sebi recommends drinking a gallon of natural spring water daily. In the lasting words of Dr. Sebi, since we are electrical, it's only right that we have electric foods.